Well, we didn't say a lot to him. I think we're still kind of in the assessment phase. I mean, he's raw. He's big. He moves well. He's 18. So we noticed some things today of just making sure you're athletic. Every little thing is important. We find that most of these kids haven't yet learned that you kind of do everything with a purpose. And what doesn't seem like a big deal, getting on the wrong side of the guy in the neutral zone, can end up being a big deal in your own zone, a little bit later in the shift. So we're still at that phase where we're just kind of just watching the guys. But he's speaks real good English, as you guys probably know. He's very open to learning, and we're excited to have him.
On the flip side, Brent Clark, a lot of people, I think the whole staff went in and saw him at different times last year. He comes in. What do you say in terms of reconnecting with him and picking up, maybe where you left off a year ago?
Well, we with Clarkie, he's such an important part of the future of the Kings. We don't go too long without touching base. I'm from Ottawa, he's from Ottawa, so I go home, run into him, go see him working out, take him for lunch, phone calls, emails, texts, whatever. So it's not like we haven't talked to him about stuff in a while. And he's a guy that you want to kind of give a little bit of structure to, and then you just kind of let him do his thing. He's a gamer. Tonight there's I wouldn't say it his best first scrimmage. Maybe tried a little too much, but he's blocking a shot in a 5-1 game late like that. Not many guys would do that. So he's a hockey junkie, and he's a good one.
You look to a guy like that who's been to a couple of these development camps before to be a leader to some of the guys like Dvorak who have never been to anything like this.
Yeah, I think that's part of the leadership thing. It comes in different levels. Obviously, at the top, you have the Kopitars and the Dowdies and stuff, but it's about, now Mikey Anderson kind of taking care of some of the young guys coming in, and even a Brent Clark taking care of these guys, just doing everything to help the guys at different levels say, I've been there, I know what it's like. I see, like, even Hellenius was talking to Otto Celine, and Sammy's, it's only the second year over here. His English is getting better, but Celine's never been here. So I see Sammy kind of saying, well, here's what we do here. And so, leadership's at all different kind of levels and phases, but it's great to see when someone who's been there before is able to kind of take someone under their wings.
When you look at Clark's game from last year to the year on, where's his game grown, and kind of like what's the next step for him?
I think, he's a unique kind of player, and I don't think you want to box him in, but it just recognizing, it reminded me a little bit of Sean Dursey when he first came up. It was you don't hit a home run at every shift at the NHL level. You can do it, in junior, and you can do it sometimes even in the minor leagues, but the guys are so good here, you just have to pick your spots when you go, and don't try and manufacture something when it's not there. The game will present itself naturally, and those guys have the kind of talent that when that happens, they can take advantage of it. When they're trying to force things or trying to crowbar and make a play happen when it's not there, that's when they get in trouble. But again, if he can, play within himself, which I think he does, at the highest stage, he's a dynamic player that there's not many players like that.
Brent, Sean, Brent. How often have you run across players at that age with that much confidence? And how do you think that will serve him as he tries to make the jump, as he looks to make the jump?
I think it's going to serve him really well. And I think it's, it can be a strength and a weakness, because there's times sometimes those players takes a little while to learn that, look, that play didn't work. You can't do that again, or you can't do that again. But he will try something if he believes it's the right play. Drew Doughty was a lot like that, and I'm not comparing the two players, but Drew would try something, and it didn't matter. It wasn't going to change because the game was late in the game, or the stakes got high, or you're out against so and so. If he feels it's the right play, and he feels it's the right thing, he'll do it. Is it always the right play? No, but it's nice to see those kind of players. You'd rather work with those kind of players than the players that you have to say, this option or this option. He sees all the options. He may not, choose the right one all the time, but he doesn't get overwhelmed. I think he gets better. You look at where he's been. The World Juniors, for example, I thought as the tournament got better, he got better. As the games went along, he started getting double shift and playing more. So I think once he settles into a situation and see what he's at and gets a feel for it, I think he doesn't get overwhelmed by situations at all, and that's a nice thing.
Players like that, like the bigger the moment,
yeah,
they seem to rise to that. They thrive on it.
Yeah, and again, we all make mistakes, and we always say when we're working with development guys, it's funny how when guys do something good or make a great player, have a great shift, and you go congratulate them, they go, that's okay, I got to worry about the next shift, and they kind of leave it. But the hardest thing is sometimes when players have a bad shift, they tend to hang on to that, or they think about that. They're not as quick to kind of go, well, I got to worry about the next shift and put that behind me. And he has the ability to do that. He'll make a mistake and go, that's fine. I'm worried about the next one.
Clark's probably the closest one to the NHL at this camp, certainly the closest defenseman making the NHL roster. How different is what you're kind of working with him on compared to someone like Dvorak, who's still 18, who's still a couple years out?
Well, you probably have a little shorter leash as far as mistakes and things that you want to, with some of these young guys, like again, Otto Saline, I thought did some really nice things today, but he did some things that, on the wrong side of a guy. You kind of go, well, we'll talk about that, but he's young, and we got time to work with that. He's still going back to Finland next year to play. Clark, you want to kind of nip those things now, and again, his I don't want to call them mistakes, but any looseness in his play is tighter than some of the other guys, but you still want to make it as tight as possible, because we're counting on him to make the Kings this year, and if he does, those coaches, they want to be able to trust when they put you out there that you're not going to we're going to make mistakes, but you're not making the same ones over and over again, and so his I don't want to say leash or margin of error is tighter than some of those young players that we know are still a couple years away.
Is that his goal at this camp, to set him up to make the Kings roster? Is that kind of what the coaching staff wants to
I
do?
would think so. I mean, I think you have to ask him, but I think if his goal isn't to make the Kings this year, I think there's something wrong. And again, I can't speak in his mind, but I'm 99.9% sure that if you asked him, his goal is to make the Kings and be in the opening night roster.
When you have such a small window of time with these players and they're all at different levels of development, are you giving instruction in the morning session and then looking to see how that instruction landed in the afternoon session, or is it two different evaluations?
And no, I think at times you do, like we worked on some stuff today, and we talked to the guys and said, look, the stuff you learned today or in the video meeting, when mistakes happen. The biggest thing that when we can get guys, when guys start to realize when they make a mistake, what they did wrong or what happened, that's the biggest thing is when you make a mistake and you come back and go, I don't know what happened there. How did that happen? So when we start to point that stuff out, so we'll watch some of the tape from tonight and go over it maybe a little bit, and if we can pick a couple things, we'll show it to a kid and say, listen, what do you think happened there? Say, oh, my stick was here, or I got to the outside. So we try and. It's hard when it's, especially for defense, when it's not structured like this and it's a little bit kind of all over the place. It's tough to really evaluate a defenseman how they are. But if we see something glaring that we've worked on, we'll point it out to them the next day.
Clark and Dvorak are two at opposite ends of the spectrum, right? One's new, one's been around. What about a kid like Angus Booth coming in for his second year? Any improvement in his game from maybe what you remember of last year?
Yeah, I think, with Angus, I think there's a lot of good things there. I think he's an IQ, and that's a really hard thing to teach, is hockey IQ. I think he has that. I think he's able to there's a calmness, so when he gets the puck, things slow down. I think he's able to see kind of different options. I don't like comparing players to players that are playing now, because I don't think it's fair, but it reminds me a little bit of Mikey Anderson, just kind of the way he plays, and I think Mikey was probably ahead at this level, but Angus, we've talked to him, been open with him about, getting a man's body and just making sure to put some bulk on and put some size, and defensemen could always use some quickness and stuff, but that IQ that he has is hard to teach.
He at least looks a little bit bigger than last year.
He does, and well, he better be, because that's something, every time we see him, that's something that we talk about, and he knows, first thing he said, I've been working out, I've been doing this, putting on that weight, and, that's all you can do.
Guys, we see the on-ice stuff that you guys are working on these players with. How important is the off-ice component that these guys get to learn certain things that maybe they don't experience at the junior level or the European level or wherever they're going?
Well, I think it's huge, because, playing, their goal is to play in the NHL, and I think anybody you've talked to that's played, or any of the guys that have played in the NHL, you can play junior or college or even the minor league level, and you can almost kind of show up. I don't want to show up, but in the NHL, it's a 24-hour. It's almost like a lifestyle. So you have to, what you do at 11 o'clock at night affects your practice the next day, or what kind of sleep you get, or what kind of morning skate you get. It all kind of intertwines. So I think it's a really big deal that these guys don't just turn their brain off when they, when they get off the ice, whether they're cooling down or stretching or going up to the gym to work out. It's all part of that process to get you into the, the lineup of the LA Kings, and the quicker they can realize that and buy into that, I think the better off they are.
For the guys like Clark and Krieger and LaFerriere, guys who haven't played a full season with the organization yet, but have had those brief exposures to pro hockey,
Is there anything that you notice that's specific to them that maybe sets them apart when they come to development camp?
I just thought that it seemed apparent to the guys that have played pro to the guys that weren't. You could see, like, even Hellenius I thought was stronger today. I thought that Chromiak was good. LaFerrier was really good. I mean, these guys, it's not fair. They've been part of either playing on the Kings or playing on the Reign or had some time, but there seemed like there was a level for that than the guys that hadn't experienced some of that. So yeah, I don't want to point at individuals, but I thought as a group, the guys that either been in Ontario or come at the end of the year and spend a little bit of time there, once you see it, once you get around it, it helps your training in the summer. It helps your diet. Once you get exposed to that, you take that back in the summertime and it better prepares you for something like this.
How much interaction is there with you and goaltending staff?
Zero. I don't. I mean, it's, I see them and say hi to them, but as far as like
But communicating to the defense as far as working with goalies or how to play in front.
that's not really what we do right now. Is like they do the goalies, we do the defense. It's up to the coaching staff to merge the two until we're told differently. That's kind of what we do.
Marco Sturm has been around this week, which is different than last year when he wasn't here. Just curious, any conversations coming in about Marco's thoughts about players and or things that he's looking for this week?
No, I mean I've seen Marco, but we haven't really talked to him a whole lot. And again, we we don't want to coach. We don't coach systems. We hope to coach a certain. Green and I do the D, and then Stoli and Mel do the forwards. That it doesn't matter what style or what system or what way 1-2-2 or 2-1-2, whatever it is. We feel like we put the pieces in that will help them play that kind of system, and then the coaches can basically tweak that.